and welcome to the 5th episode of Curt's Corner. I'm your host, Cur3t's. Our guest today is Pat Murphy, legendary football coach, educator, and judge of fine wines. During Pat's career at Capitol High from 2003 to 2013, the Bruin football team appeared in 6 state championship games. He won a school record 4 state titles, while setting Class AA records of 5 successive appearances in the Chipper and 33 straight wins, and tying the AA mark of 3 consecutive grid crowns. Matt Rayant played on the first 3 championship teams and said that Pat's biggest strength is his ability to develop a plan and make decisions that stay the course. Quote, Coach Murphy is very calculated with every decision he makes. He is as consistent as anyone I know, related Rayant, who now serves as a Bruin assistant. A true leader of men, his football handprint is all over the state of Montana. Pat's football knowledge is unmatched. He has one of the brightest minds in the game, unquote. Since retiring from Capitol, Pat has split his time between Montana and California, which he's going to fill us in on in more detail later on. Now, I like to talk about my connections with my guest. And one of my connections, earliest connections, although neither one of us knew it at the time, was when Pat was an assistant at Missoula Big Sky, and one of his star players was Jeremy Watkins. And I happened to be on the same wrestling team with Jeremy's dad, Jim Watkins, back when Moby Dick was still a goldfish. And I actually met Pat's wife, Beth, through my wife, Melissa, before I even knew Pat. And then the first time we actually met was I was kind of guiding a automobile dealership, was doing a nationwide commercial for one of their trucks. And it was the first time I got to interview Pat. I'd been working with the paper and writing, but I was not covering football at the time. And so, Pat, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Curt. Thanks for making me sound way smarter than I actually am.
No, that's not going to happen. I ask the dumb questions, and you give the smart answers.
All right.
Yeah. And you got to be smart to do that with my questions.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Well,
a lot of pressure.
I know you'll do. You'll make me look good.
I think some of those state championships games were less pressure than this. See how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I know they were pressure. So no, let's have fun. Now, and in order to do that, we have to. I'm going to toss up a very difficult question of the universe for you, and I want you to look at my logo there. Now, can you tell me what the significance of the 3 is? And it doesn't stand for your 3 straight titles.
You're 30 years old?
That's close. No, actually the 3 is silent.
Oh.
Okay, so we got that settled.
I like it.
Now let's go back to high school, Missoula Big Sky. Tell me about your playing days for the Eagles.
Oh, man. I was below average high school football player, probably.
Okay.
I started 2 years for the Eagles, and then I was fortunate enough to, probably one of the harder workers on the team. I had a good work ethic, so I didn't claim to be a great football player, but I had a good work ethic. Uh-huh. So the coaching staff there at the time, I had a good rapport with them, and they asked me to come coach while I was going to college at the U of M. So
okay.
That was 1984. So that's when I first started coaching, was 1984.
Okay. Now, were you the first graduating class at Big Sky? You started when the school started?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And what position did you play?
I played center, a little bit of outside linebacker.
Okay. What was your favorite?
Oh, man.
Did you like to hit people?
I like to hit people, so a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
you get a lot of contact in both of those spots. So
There you go, yeah. And how big were you?
oh, back then I was probably a whopping 170 pounds. So
Okay, solid muscle though.
solid muscle.
Okay.
We were a lot smaller back in the 80s, and now we have 300-pound linemen and defensive ends and stuff. So
Oh, yeah, that is pretty small for a center, isn't it?
it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, technique.
Technique, all technique.
Yeah. So next came college, University of Montana. Tell me what you studied there.
Studied computer science, got a degree in computer science, and going through college, I was coaching for the Eagles.
Okay. And what was your first job with the Eagles and when?
So the first coach was Kevin Hammond was the head coach, and he hired me as a freshman. Freshman D-line, offensive line coach. So I coached freshmen with.
Okay. And then through my research, I found that you worked for a small computer company for a while.
Yeah.
And then when you got laid off in '92, you went back to the UM and earned a math degree and a teaching certificate.
Yeah, you did your Google search. Yeah. So I worked as a programmer for 3 years and got laid off. And I was continuing to coach at Big Sky, and I got moved up to the varsity level under Gary Eckergren. He's a coaching legend in the state, won a state championship there. And
Right.
with him in 1994, and while that was all going on, you know, had to find something else to do. I was a computer programmer for 3 years, and then all my friends were teachers, so it just kind of seemed the natural thing. Unfortunately, computer science was not a teachable subject back then, so no school had that offering. So I had to get another degree, and I got a degree in math. I had a minor in math already, so it went pretty quick.
Yeah, well, good. And then you talk about that state championship, and I also learned that your defensive secondary had a nickname called the Piranhas.
Yeah,
And that was Jeremy Watkins was on part of that. So tell me a little bit about that nickname. How'd they get the nickname, and what did it signify?
Oh, just, piranhas just kind of swarm around to a big chunk of meat. I think I like to give my athletes visuals. So we wanted all the defensive backs to converge on the ball. So I think one time I said, if you take a chunk of meat and throw it into a piranha tank, that's how we want you converging on the ball. And so that kind of stuck, and got them T-shirts, and it was an honor to become a piranha. And we had our own little song, and we got little stickers on our shirt every time we made a big hit. So kind of had a little mind of its own, and kind of enveloped, and it got real popular. So
Sure. Well, I'm thinking maybe you showed them the old Tarzan films where they show the native falls into the river, and the piranha, the water starts bubbling and boiling.
That's exactly what happens when we converge on the ball.
Yeah. Okay, so next head coaching job at Livingston from 95 to 98. And then you were the head coach at Jefferson High from 99 to 2003. Is that right? Or 2002?
Something like that, yes.
2002, I think, because 03 was your first year at Capitol.
I think 04 was my first year at Capitol.
04, that's right, 04, 05.
So 4 years in Livingston, 5 years in Boulder, and 12 in Capitol?
Yeah, something like that. I got to, with the math teacher sitting here, I better get my arithmetic right. I know.
Correct you right now.
No. Those are for me. Those are for display.
They're red. I can make some marks.
Okay. Well, I know you were 29-12 at Jefferson, and you qualified for the playoffs all 5 years. I know that. Okay. So before we jump into your career at Capitol, I need to take my first sponsorship break. And that is Exit Realty and Bob Denherter, and he's one of our charter sponsors. His phone number is 406-449-8831. Bob is located at Western Premier Helena Great Northern Hotel, and Exit Realty is locally owned and internationally strong. And also, Bob's son, Luke Denherter, late Luke Denherter, played Capital football a couple of years before you got there, I think, but I'm sure you two got to know each other pretty well.
I knew him well.
Yeah.
He coached with us for a few years.
Okay. I kind of figured that. A couple of my individual sponsors are the Pat Murphy, and full disclosure, he's one and the same as my guest, of course, and my buddy Ken Nettleton. In fact, I twisted Pat's arm for sponsorship before I even started the program, so there's no pay for play involved here. Okay, between bookend runners-up trophies in 05 and 09, the Bruins three-peated from 2006 to 2008. A feat achieved only 2 other times by the 4-time champion Missoula Spartans in the 1940s and C.M. Russell in the early 1980s. So we're just gonna run through your championship appearances. The first one was in 2005, and you were shaded by West 21-17. They were undefeated. They went undefeated. You guys were finished at 11-2. You were up 17-7 at halftime, but you lost Corey Peterson in the second period. And I know we don't make excuses, but that had to be a critical loss to lose a guy like that. I was reading the report where they were blitzing you guys in the second half, and Corey was one of the people you depended on to stop that.
Yeah, great speed and quickness in that kid. So we ran our jet sweep with him. So if you run a blitz with a jet sweep, we're going to score on you. So that was a big blow to us right there. Didn't have really anyone to take his place, or we kind of probably should have practiced a few more kids at that position. But yeah, it was a tough loss. I remember going into halftime there. Their team doctor said, he can't play unless he has an x-ray. I refuse to put him back in. So,
oh, wow.
But it turns out, I think he was going out for the basketball team the next week. So I think chalk went up for that doctor.
Oh, jeez.
But it was a close game. It went down to the wire. I think
the rest of the story.
Yeah, that's the inside scoop there.
The inside skinny there.
They had a great team. The quarterback, was it John Edwards, I think, went on to play for the Grizzlies. And,
that might be right, yeah.
But threw a great out-and-up pass to take the lead. And then we just couldn't record. We had a good drive towards the end, and I think it stalled out or we fumbled or something like that. One of the better games, state championship-wise.
Yeah. Equally matched teams and a close game.
And then talking to Coach Clable, throughout the years, he claims that was his best team ever. So, wow. So in order to compete with them, they were undefeated, best West team ever, maybe. And to play with them and compete with them, that says a lot about the character of our kids that year.
Exactly, yeah. Next best thing of playing and winning is playing and losing.
Yeah, there you go. We were there.
Okay, next year, 2006, you guys beat West in the rematch, 31-17. And this one, you were down 10-3 after the first quarter, and it came storming back for 21 unanswered points in the second quarter, and salted the game away. So what are your memories of that game?
Oh, that's when we had, I believe Matt Miller was kind of emerging as a star back then. So Jared Hunt was
he was a freshman that year?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So he worked himself in. You're putting me on the spot with all these names. I think Quinn Knoll and Francis Righteous was our running backs, I believe, at the time. So outstanding run game we had, and I remember just chunking away each quarter. We had a pretty good ground attack then, and then just kind of taking charge by the halftime. So.
I think that was the year Matt made the big play in the semis against Helena High.
Yeah, as a freshman.
Caught a touchdown.
I think he was the third option on that one. They did a good job of covering some of our kids we tried to get it to, and Jared Hunt threw a big long pass and out jumped this kid in the end zone, pulled it down. So, so that was a great game.
Foreboding of things to come with that guy. Huh?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, 2007, next year. Now this was another close game. This one went your way, 30-27 over Senior. Finished the year 12-1. After a scoreless opening quarter, your first touchdown was a 41-yard strike from Jared Hunt to Seth Long, which was set up by a fake punt on a 4th and 5. Do you remember that fake punt?
Vaguely.
Okay. That's
so no, I don't.
It had to happen. It was in the paper.
I make all the calls on the fake punt, so I should remember those. But I think it was a.
It said that Jared went 6 yards to get the marker on.
Yeah, I think I think it was we had a rugby punt. So Jared always had the option of rolling out, punting it, and kicking it.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think he just kept it.
So he was the punter too?
He was the punter, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And,
sure.
I think he was the AA hurdle champion. So, him getting out on the edge and with the punt run option is always a good idea. So.
Yeah. He could hurdle a tackler if he needed to, yeah.
Yeah, I think that year we only punted like 9 times.
Oh, wow.
Part of the reason was because we kept running our rugby punt and he would keep it. But,
wow.
Part of the other, we were so good at moving the ball, I think, so.
Right. Matriculating the ball down the field.
Matriculate the ball down the field. But I think we had to get an onside kick on that game.
That's right. I'm just coming to that.
Oh, you're getting to that stuff, huh?
Yeah, that's next. So early in the fourth quarter, you're down 27-18. With 3:21 left, Anthony Hogan scores on a 12-yard pass from Jared Hunt, makes it 27-24. Then you pull the onside kick by kicker Michael King. Tate Strom tips the ball away from a Bronc, and Gus Huvestal recovers the ball. So walk us through that.
I remember they had their big dude right there. I forget his name, but he was pretty good. And the ball kind of went right through him and right through his hands. Oh, wow. And then Gus was right there to recover it. I think it was on the ground. Gus has these long arms. I think he just grabbed it and scooped it up. But that definitely was a big momentum changer. You could just see their sidelines just kind of drop their heads, and their coaches, you start getting cotton mouth on that side of and we were excited and we're all pumped up. And so I think we just kind of ride that momentum for the rest of the game.
Right. So let's see. After a 25-yard pass on third down to Casey Lamping, Hunt scores a winning TD on a two-yard run with 2:19 left. So that's your repeat title.
We'll take it.
Yeah. We come to the three-peat in 2008.
I want to put a plug in for our defense, though. They had an outstanding.
Of course.
Senior had a great offense, really tough to stop, and then they had a chance at the end to march it on down and score. And but we made some key stops right in that area. So put the icing on the cake. Yes.
So next year, 35-14 over West again. That seems to be
That was the big defensive stuff. I think we had 6 interceptions. 2 in the end zone. They were loaded. They had 2 quarterbacks that went on to play college football. So they were 2 quarterback system, and we were fortunate to get 6 interceptions off them.
Right, and you must have got a fumble recovery because it has 7 turnovers for you guys and 1 for them. Nice. But even though they outgained you on the total offense, so that.
What?
So the turnovers were the deciding factor, but the score wasn't close, 35-14.
Yeah, we hit some big plays. I think we hit a big, we call it a fire screen. It's an outside tunnel screen for a big touchdown. And and then I think Matt Rayont had a really nice throw on a corner route for a long touchdown. But
I wanted to talk about a game, the first meeting with those guys earlier in the year, I was talking to assistant coach Reed Christensen about this. He told me about this. In the midseason, it was a 22-21 win over West, and to keep that streak alive, your win streak alive. And you guys came back from 21-0. You were down 21-0. So you scored 3 TDs in the second half to get to within 21-20 in the final moments, right? Reed says there was a debate whether to kick it for the tie or go for the 2 for the win. And what were you in favor of, do you remember?
Well, let me set up the whole story.
Okay, yeah.
Before that game was played, Billings West was ranked number 1. And I think we played Helena High. It was like us, Helena High, and Capital. It was 1, 2, and 3. West was number 1, and then we were 3, but we beat Helena High, I believe. And then so for some reason, the ranking system jumped us to number 1. That made them mad. So when we get to the stadium, usually the stadium, you get there, it's...
And it was down there?
Yeah, it was down there.
In Billings, yeah.
So you get to the stadium, there's usually people trickling in. Not this time. Everybody, the stands were packed, and everybody was wearing these black shirts that said, "Restore the order." So they were a little angry that they weren't ranked first. So it was a very intimidating atmosphere. I remember there was crowds. Billings West, they're
I've heard some of those
I love
stories.
their fans, but they'll take pennies and they snap them at you from the sidelines.
Oh,
You're almost constantly being pelted by something.
Oh, wow.
So hostile crowd and just raucous crowd, and it was a great atmosphere. We get there and we're a little shell shocked, and we go down 21-0 just like that. But I think they thought it was over at the halftime. So, we had other ideas.
Yeah.
And I think we scored on. We got in a roll, and our defense got on a roll too, and got some big turnovers and some key sacks at the end, and we got 2 big drives, and our last drive was seconds left, and we had to throw a pass, and Matt Rayant scrambled, almost got sacked, broke free, and just launched it, and we had Josh Dirks in the end zone catch a big touchdown pass with no time left. So
right.
That's when we...
So then you're within 1,
Yep.
and you have to go for the extra point, either kick it to tie or conversion to win?
Yeah, so, the general consensus is when you're on the road, you go for 2. When you have the momentum, you go for 2. So those 2 things kind of converge, so we were going to go for 2. So.
Okay, so you went for 2.
Yep.
You got the 2.
Yep, so Matt Rayant does this little spin, and we fake the jet sweep to Matt Miller, and he continues to spin in. And from where we're standing, he's in by a bunch. So he spins in, and his whole body's across the line. But there's a little consensus from the judges.
Yeah, they want to restore the order.
So we're
a little nervous.
They're arguing. All of them get together, and by that time, I'm on the field, and their coaches are going crazy, or they're saying no. Apparently, from where they were.
Of course.
It was no good.
And everybody on that side of the stands.
So I remember walking all the way to the refs as they're discussing. I'm like 5 feet from them, and I wanted to get my 2 cents in. And then I saw one ref, right as I'm approaching him, drop his head and go like this. And that's when
you knew you were. Okay.
Eruption of joy.
Yes. And Reed's memory is that you jumped into the arms of Matt Rayant. Do you remember that?
I think it was Matt Miller, but
Matt Miller. Okay, Matt Miller.
Everybody was jumping and celebrating. It was like the Waterboy story where it was slap hands, slap hands. No one would celebrate with me. I'm just kind of looking around. I'm celebrating by myself. Then finally I see Matt Miller's kind of standing around too. He's always cool, calm, and collected. So I went and gave him a big hug. So.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
So going into that state championship game, they had revenge on their mind. I think they thought they should have won that, and they had the game. So that was going to be a big state championship and a big rematch. So a lot went down into that game. So
I'm wondering how much they paid for those shirts. Restore the order. I mean, did they get their money back?
Yeah, I don't know.
And speaking of Matt Rayant, I have another quote from Matt. Quote, "I am forever grateful to Pat. I was a no-name kid that he took a chance on," wrote Rayant, who has served as a grid assistant now for over 10 years. Quote, "The lessons he taught me I became a better man that I still apply today. I would not be in the position I am today without his guidance and leadership," unquote. So that's from Matt Rayant.
Oh, very kind. One of my all-time favorite players. Just he's kind of epitomizes what it is to be a Bruin. Not every year do we have the great athletes, but we always have the hardest working athletes. He was both. So he was a great athlete, and he worked hard. So he upped his level of game and went on to have a successful college career. And
at Northern,
At Northern, and he played quarterback and DB and a little bit of everything just because he's a good little athlete. So he made me look smart for several years.
Yeah, and I got a kick out of his dad.
Yeah, I loved his dad. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Great man.
Yeah. Okay, 2009, here's your 5th straight appearance in the Chipper. Got the other side of a 28-14 decision against CM Russell. When you beat the Bruins, the Bruins beat Big Sky during the 4th game of the year, you set a new AA record of 25 consecutive victories. You broke the tie with the CM 1984 Rustlers and the 2000 Bruins. You extended the streak to 33 with a semifinals win over Skyview. And I always think of that quote that was in the paper when the reporter asked you about that win streak. And paraphrasing, you said something like, "We take one game at a time and we don't worry about some little record," unquote.
Yeah.
So I got a kick out of that.
It was getting annoying. That's everybody.
Yeah.
It's really, in high school football, it's about the high school kids. And, we want to put the shine on the kids and the individual performances. And, it just kept, each week, it's, we're going for 26 in a row, 27 in a row. Are you nervous? Are you? No, we're not nervous. We don't play that way. And people, the media just wouldn't believe me. I was like, they just wanted us to be just so nervous and scared. No, we play each game and we prepare for each game, and that's how we focus just in the moment. We don't focus in the past. We don't focus in the future. We focus in the moment constantly, and it was hard to get the media to buy into that. But our kids bought into it, and our coaches bought into it. So,
well, there might have been some statistician on the sideline who will remain nameless that kept pushing that number.
Oh, that's all right. It was fun while it was.
But you know what that reminds me of is Joe Namath when the '69 Super Bowl and he guaranteed the win. Yeah. It was kind of like that. They were having some kind of banquet and everybody was talking about how great the Colts were and how the Jets didn't have a chance and they were the underdogs. And so it was his turn to speak. And some reporter in the back started to bring up the Colts again, and he said it was enough. And he said he didn't even realize what he was saying until afterwards. He said, "Hey, it's my turn to talk. I guarantee we're going to win."
Yeah, it's kind of what.
And then they went out and won.
There you go. Back it up. Yeah. Yeah. During that streak, we played and had this swag atmosphere about us too. We just knew we were going to win. Yeah. At that time, we had this new assistant principal come in, Jim Conley, and he came from Washington State, and he was at this high school where they didn't necessarily have a great program. And so he was kind of nervous for these games, and so he called me in one time and said, "Hey, this is a big game. What do you think the score is going to be?" I'm waffling. I'm like, gosh, I just hope we get a first down, Jim. And he's no. He got kind of mad. He goes, "I want to know what you think, honestly." I go, "Jim, we're going to beat them 49-0. We're going to put our starters in, and we're going to take our starters out pretty much at the halftime." He's like, Sure enough, we beat this team 49-0. He's like, "How did you know?"
You forced me into it.
Yeah, well, it probably would have been 35-0, but I wanted to get 49-0 just to impress you.
Yeah. Okay, Ollie, just to make yourself look good.
There you go.
Okay, so let's see. You ended up placing runner-up in the title game. The score was tied at 14s at halftime, but the Rustlers scored twice in the second half. So again, not to make excuses, but Matt Miller was not 100%.
Yeah, he
correct?
had he hurt his hamstring in the Skyview semifinal.
Yeah.
It was kind of cold, and he felt something pop, so wasn't 100%. But
Right.
not make excuses. Their
No.
offense played great. One thing I remember about that year is we script our first 10 plays, offensive plays. We try to find our best plays based on the defense and what they're doing blitz-wise. And so during that season, we scored on our first drive every game except one. That was Billings Senior. And our kids got mad that we didn't score on that drive. And they said, "Coach, we're running the top 10 over again, and we're scoring." So sure enough, we got the second drive we had, ran it down the field and scored on the top 10. So that's pretty amazing to score on every first drive of every game. Most teams like to go on defense first and see what's going to play it out. Not us. We're gonna take the ball and we're gonna take it down and score. And so that was our attitude, and
We're going to put
we did.
We're going to lead off with our home run hitter.
Yep. So you're going to be down 7-0. So
Barry Bonds or Bobby Bonds.
there you go.
Okay, I think obviously you had a lot of great players, and I know I just been around your program a lot enough to know that you guys do not like to single out players, but I think in the case of Matt Miller, there's probably an exception.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on coaching Matt Miller?
He's the best football player I've had the pleasure of coaching. He just he had it all.
He just said the secret word,
$200. He was big. He had the size. He had the speed, and he had the quickness, and amazing hands. He's just a gifted football player. So everybody talks about what a great receiver he was, but he was also an outstanding defensive back. He could have played anywhere. He would have been our best offensive lineman.
Could have been your quarterback.
Could have been our quarterback. Yeah. So just can't say enough about him. He made me look smart for 4 years. Yeah. And he took us to 4 state championships in those. And could have few things happened. You could have been 4 state championships. You look at some of those other teams that have athletes in the NFL that are playing in the NFL now, and maybe they won 1 state championship with them or none. So, Matt, that shows you how good Matt Miller was as a high school athlete. He was able to take us to 4. So.
Right, and very modest,
very modest,
down to earth.
Yeah. And then, some of those games we're up big, so we have to take him out at halftime. So if he wanted to, he could have every school record, every state record.
Yeah, that was kind of like Ray Howard when he played for the Bengals back in the 50s, and they were so good that they took him out. He never played a fourth quarter, and he still had all of their records. Yep. But same thing with Matt. So you guys returned to the mountaintop in 2011 after missing only a year from being there. You went 12-1.
Well, we would have got there the previous year. We double overtime lost to Bozeman. Maybe it was triple overtime. It was a very close game. I still remember like 5 instances in that game that could have, if we would have done something differently, we'd have won that game. So that close from being,
Was that the semifinals?
That was the semifinals.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So.
Huh.
Anyways, back to 2010. So.
Yeah, so it could have been 7 in a row.
Yeah, which is amazing.
6, yeah. Yeah, you got 6 out of 7.
Yeah, that would have been.
No, 5. Yeah, you got 6 out of 7. Could have been 7 in a row.
7 in a row.
Wow.
So, which is pretty impressive.
Yes, it is. Avenged your only loss of the season to West behind Gunnar Brecky's 3 touchdown runs, plus everybody else.
Yeah.
It was the program's 11th grid championship. And so any comparison to that team compared to the other 3, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, we had Caleb Kidder back then. He went on to play for the Grizzlies and outstanding. He was a 4-year starter, I think, on our offensive line and defensive line.
3-time All-Stater.
Yep. Outstanding, just big individual that could just take over a game if he wanted to. I just remember anytime we needed a sack or something, I was like, gosh, I hope we get a sack or something. And sure enough, he gets it done. So he could really take over a game. Yeah. But that season was more of a team effort. Or maybe some of our superstars were kind of hidden on our line. When Matt Miller's out there, he's out there. But, when sometimes those really good linemen you have, they're kind of in the trenches, so you don't realize what's going on. But Gunnar Brecky had a great state championship. He made some big runs, and our quarterback played extremely well our last 3 games. So
yeah, we're going to do this since I almost forgot. In chronological order. These are Pat's state coach, Montana Coaches Association Coach of the Year plaques.
They say they vote on them, but it's really if you win a state championship, you get this. So.
Why don't you help me hold them up there? Now I'm going to do the bragging for you. You don't have to say anything.
Good.
There's 206, 207. You're just like Bill Russell, and you're running out of ring fingers. 6, 7, 8, and 11. So maybe Jeannie can zoom in on that.
There you go.
Okay. Let's see, where were we at?
We're a little dusty. We've got to break them out more often.
Yeah, I'm glad I talked you into it. I just want to go over some stats here. During the course of those 6 seasons, and I left out 2010. I might have to go back. But anyway, let's just take those 6 seasons that you played in the championship. The Bruins went 70-7 for an astronomical 90.9 winning percentage. And overall, your career record at Capital was 97-37, a 73% winning percentage, and you're the number 2 coach for Capital in both of those categories. And there's another quote that sticks out, one of yours that I get, just in my memory, is, and I'm going to paraphrase it, and you straighten it out. You said something, we don't do a whole lot of things. We just do 1 or 2 things, but we do them over and over and over again, and we do them better than anybody else. Now, is that close?
That's
is
pretty
that your
much
philosophy?
It. Yeah. So I think philosophy is we got to get great at a few things. One of them was teams call it the buck sweep. We pull both guards and it's a run play. So if you get good at that, defenses have to adjust. And once they adjust, then we can have their way with them. So most of the time they have to adjust by rolling up a safety to our tight end wing side, and then they're vulnerable somewhere else. And then we can start picking on people. Yeah. So it's those teams that can just stay in their base defense and stop us that gave us trouble. But most of the time we were able to do that just by getting good and just out-executing people. So we're not trying to fool anybody. Everybody knows it's coming, and we're going to out-execute you.
Yeah, here it comes, stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I also picked current head coach Kyle Mihalish's. I want to back up for a second. When you guys won your first one, I knew your wife Beth first, through my wife. Hadn't met you yet. When you guys won your first one in 06, I was talking to Beth, something going on at my house or whatever. I said, hey, Pat got his state championship. And your wife said, thank God. So I'm guessing there's a little pressure being a Bruin coach, which...
It's more pressure being a Bruin wife, I think.
Yeah, okay, there you go. There you go. But I know that Kyle was relieved when he got his championship.
Well, every head coach has won a state championship at Capital. That's a tough burden to bear once you take the job. You got to mark. You got to win it. So and he got it done. So
he got his in
great fashion, going undefeated, and what a great season. So, but he's just making it to the semifinals is great in the AA, and he's done that numerous times. So great coach and great guy.
Went to the mountaintop. Anyway, got this quote from Kyle, quote, what makes Coach Murphy a great coach is his ability to communicate his philosophy to players and coaches. He's very well organized, which translates to a smooth operating program. When I coached with him, there was never any confusion on expectations, unquote. So that's from Coach Mihalish.
He made me look smart too. So great defensive mind. Him and Chance Furlicka, two great defensive coordinators that I didn't talk much about defense in our conversation just because I don't know much about defense anymore.
And you were a defensive guy.
And I
starting out.
Missoula Big Sky, I was the defensive coordinator. We won a state championship, but I could just turn it over to those two guys, and I knew it was just going to get run, and we were going to stop people, and I could just focus on the offense and parents and kids and special teams or whatever. So
right, and Furlicka had been there since like the late 70s or something.
He's a legend.
Yeah. So another quick sponsorship mention, if you don't mind. Appropriately enough, and coincidentally, another member of Bruin Nation, Brecky Excavating and Construction, and owner Ray Brecky. Phone 406-443-8782, and he's located at 5925 Lincoln Road. Ray was an all-conference defensive back for CHS in the early 1980s, and his son Gunnar was previously mentioned during today's show. So thanks, Ray. Okay, Pat, before we get to your latest gig in California, I'm going to go Howard Cosell on you and get up close and personal. So, when and where did you meet your wife, Beth?
Met her when I was teaching at Livingston.
Okay.
So, and
is she from Livingston, or?
No, she's from Southern California. She moved up to take a teaching job in Livingston, and thought it was beautiful up there. And we kind of shared this. We had offices. We didn't have our own rooms, but we classrooms, so we had offices next to each other.
Ah, okay. So when did you get married?
Yeah, this is tough questions.
You better get this right. The year is close enough.
25 years ago.
20. That's close enough. Yeah. Tell us about Beth's occupation.
What is currently is a compliance officer for the state of Montana works for the government.
All right. She's been with the state for quite a while, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Two sons, Jack and Blaze. Now I know Jack because I covered his wrestling. Yep. He was an all-state wrestler. Yep. And I think he's played football too?
Yep, played football. Yep.
Okay. And college?
Yep, he went on to Williams College in Massachusetts and wrestled out there, and had a great season. His final season got kind of cut short. He got COVID. And couldn't compete. The previous season, he took 8th or 7th in the NCAA tournament. So he was gunning up for maybe a top 5 finish in the NCAAs, but didn't quite get it done because COVID got him.
Yeah, and he was kind of a late bloomer. He's, he kind of got better every year.
Yeah,
and
took 3rd in state
his senior year.
And
he really came on.
And then really wanted to continue on with that. And hats off to the wrestling coaches, really influenced his life. And but he's graduated from college with a degree in math.
He's pretty smart too.
Pretty sharp kid.
Yeah. And tell us about Blaze.
Blaze is currently at Northern Colorado studying math. So we got a lot of math people.
Yeah.
Our dinner conversation, Kurt's, are very unusual. So we're nerds. So he'll finish up this spring.
Well, I remember a text I sent you I think it might have been Jack's 1st or 2nd year, and I asked you how Jack was doing, and you texted back, he's hanging out with all his late egghead buddies.
Yeah, that's it.
Nothing wrong with eggheads. Okay, well, let's start on what have you been doing since you retired from Capital?
Well, retired in 3 years ago, and immediately took a job in California. I'm currently on the Monterey Peninsula. So everybody asks me, where's Monterey at? It's on the coast, and it's right by the ocean, and maybe 2 hours south of San Francisco. So,
yeah, there was a big rock and roll concert in Monterey back in the 60s. Yeah,
they have Monterey Jazz Festival.
Jimi Hendrix, and And are you coaching football there?
Coaching football for the Seaside Spartans. I'm the offensive coordinator. We have a head coach, Alfred Avila is a legend out in that area. He's been coaching for over 40 years. They named the stadium after him. He's kind of the Jack Johnson of the area. So he's been there forever. So him and I get together and just talk old football stories. So
What positions are you coaching?
Quarterbacks, and I run the offense.
You're an offensive guy.
Do some special teams as well.
Confirmed offensive guy now. Yeah. Okay, so one final question before the clock runs out.
Okay.
Since you always kept your hair so short for so long and so tight on the sides, one of your assistants asked me, what's up with the California surfer do?
Well, during the pandemic, in California, everything's shut down there. Yeah. So you can't get a haircut. Yeah. So you either cut it yourself or you don't get a haircut. Yeah. So it just got long. So I came back and everybody's whooped. Yeah. And then once I'm up here, plus you go down to get a haircut in California, it's like $60 or something like that. Yeah. And they don't necessarily do a great job. So I have to wait till I'm up in Montana to get a haircut.
Yeah. So how long did it get?
It got pretty long. You just got to cut.
That's what I should have. That's what I should have.
Want to run your fingers through it, Kurt?
No.
And show some of those short-haired pictures.
I forgot to. I'm going to have you hold up. That's a family picture.
A couple of years ago.
Left to right, Blaze, Jack, Beth, and Pat. And let's put this one up there. This is for
2011 state championship.
Let's put that there.
That's Jack. He got to go on the bus with us. So
yeah. Okay, nice.
He used to take each kid on a bus ride. I think it felt it important to show the athletes, maybe what it's like to be a dad, and to be around the kids. I wanted the kids to be around them and kind of hopefully the dadness rubbed off on some of our athletes. We would always say, how's your team going to be, Coach Murphy? And I was like, well, I don't know. Just all I do know is judge us on how they become fathers and dads in 20 years. So that's how our team does.
That's a good standard. Okay, well, that wraps it up, folks. And I wanted to thank Pat. It's been an honor. It's been an honor knowing you, working with you, and having you as one of my guests on my new gig.
Likewise.
Yeah. Final sponsorship mention, folks. one of our major sponsors is County Commissioner Andy Hunthausen, and there's another CHS connection. Andy can be reached at andy@hunthausen.org or 406-461-2922. County Commissioner Andy Hunthausen. Valued leadership, trusted experience. And his sons Max and Ben both played football for the Brown and Gold. So thanks, Andy, for your sponsorship. Also a shout out to individual sponsors Tim Ferreter and Gary Turcotte. Now, if you would like to be a sponsor of Curt's Corner, phone or text me at 406-594-2878 or 406-HEY-CURT, or email CURT52SYNNESS@gmail.com. So long for now. Shaka da kain ting, my brother. And with apologies to Jackie Gleason, a little traveling music genie, if you please.